And we're live without Annett. I don't know who she is, but I'm sure she's a nice person. Ba-dun-dun. Any case, we're here to talk about Google Sites today. To begin with, I want to talk a little bit about why you might want a website. Some of you have been asking about Google Sites, and I think thinking a little bit about doing this distance learning thing. Would a website be a useful tool? Maybe it wasn't so necessary when you were in class teaching in person, but maybe now that we're doing this distance learning thing, the website's become more of an issue for you. So I've had quite a few questions, so we're going to go through how to get people up and running with a Google site. So to begin with, some thoughts about a website. It's a place to post information that you need to always be accessible, and that's accessible to parents and students alike. There's certain things that you can post on Google Classroom that you just need your students to have, an assignment, a PDF that they need to read, a link to a particular website that you need them to use or something like that for class. But there's a bunch of things that you would like to be more available to not only students but parents, and maybe even if it's just students, it's also that you need them to be able to access it over time as you go along, not just for a particular assignment or short-term unit. So with a website, you have control. You have the control to give access to people whenever they need it. So you don't have to worry about permissions like you do with Google Drive. It's just out there on the web, and that's a two-edged sword. I mean, it's out there and anybody can see it, and literally anybody in the world could get the web address and go there and look at it. So you want to think about the things that you post there, but you also don't have to worry about, did I give the right permissions? Did I share it to this person or that person? Did I forget and leave the permission shared forever and not think about it? Those kinds of things. A website can be easily updated and organized. Organized in such a way that it makes it a lot easier to access stuff. Sometimes in like Google Classroom, you post things on the stream and they scroll away after a time. You can put things where you want them and keep them there in Google Classroom. I already mentioned that it'll be accessible to the world, which means parents will be able to see the stuff. So if there's stuff you need parents to be able to see, of course, syllabus, contact information, a link to an online PDF or textbook so they can help their student with an assignment, you can put it there on your class website. So let's talk a little bit about planning a website. When I first made a website, I was gung-ho and I thought, I am going to do this and I'm going to update it every day. And it turned out to be a lot of work. And you get to the point where you go, I haven't updated my website in a week and things are out of date and the new information isn't up there. And yeah, that was the wrong way to go. My suggestion is to build a website with the kinds of things there that you want to stay there long term. So again, a link to a textbook. I put links to my practice tests for all the units there. Other resources for different chapters and units. So it's more of a static build. I don't have to update it every day. And frankly, I've got stuff that has not been touched or moved in the last couple of years because I keep using it over and over again. I think it's easier and smarter to build a more static website to start with. And then over time, you can build up to a more, I'll say, dynamic website, one that has to be updated more frequently as you go along. That way you're not having a bunch of stuff up there that needs to be updated that you didn't get to, kind of deal. Things to think about as far as posting stuff on a website. You don't want any personal stuff, no student names, grades and stuff like that. You don't want to keep that on a website. So keep that in Skyward, keep it, in Google Classroom, stuff like that. Think about stuff you always want to be accessible to students, whether it's for a chapter or a unit or for the whole school year. Those kinds of things are the things you want to put on your website. Try not to link resources on another website if you don't have to. In other words, if you link to another website and they change their website, your link can get broken, or your link can actually point to something different now all of a sudden. So you want to be a little bit careful about that. And I do link to other websites. Those are things that I check frequently. But you don't want to do that if you don't have to. So if there's a way for you to link to stuff that you have, or to go capture that information and create a document of your own to link to, that's a better option, rather than linking to somebody else's site on the internet. So some advantages to Google Sites. There are lots of ways to build a website out there. There are lots of free ways out there. Some of them share some of these features with Google Sites, but I like Google Sites for these following reasons. One, it's easy. It's not a huge hill to climb in terms of figuring out how to do it. The interface is pretty much drag and drop. You don't have to code anything. It's integrated with Google Drive, which makes it really nice if you have stuff in your Google Drive that you want to be on your website. It's all tied together, really easy to put it up there. It's free. We like free. And it automatically formats your site for different platforms. So lots of people nowadays are accessing my website, are accessing websites in general, email, social media, all that stuff from a phone. And the screen size, the screen shape format on a phone is quite different than a laptop or a desktop or an iPad for that matter. And so Google Sites will take your website that you've built, and when somebody goes to your website, it will look at what device they're using, and it will reformat your page so that it fits nicely on a phone screen, an iPad screen, a desktop monitor, a laptop, whatever. That's a big advantage. Not every website builder out there will do that for you. So I think that's a big advantage. It's also a little bit of a disadvantage. You have to be kind of limited in what you can do on your page in order for it to be able to make those formatting changes for you. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but I think it's a good one, especially if I were teaching elementary and my students all had iPads. If I'm building my website on my desktop computer, I want to make sure that it's going to show up nicely on their iPad and not be goofed up and they're having to scroll sideways to see things and whatnot. So that's some of the advantages of Google Sites. So let's take a look at getting started with building a Google site. I mentioned before that it's tied in real nicely with Google Drive. And so if you'll put my screen up there, thank you. Google Drive is where your Google site lives. My Google site actually is right down here. It's labeled Mr. Bennett. I'll show you that one in just a few minutes. But to make a new site, if you go into your Google Drive and you go to New, click this New button, then you can go down to More, and this other pop-out menu comes out, and the fourth one down says Google Sites. So you can make a new Google site by clicking there. And just like if you open a new document or new Google Sheet, it will open a new blank Google site for you to get started on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we'll see the editor here. And first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and give your site a title. So I'm going to call this, test site. This might be your name. On my site, I think it says just Mr. Bennett. Notice that when I put a title here, up in the tab, it puts that text. So you want to keep it short. You don't want a big long description there or anything like that. Probably best if you're a teacher, it's probably best to put your name up there, or Mr. Bennett's website, Mr. Bennett, something like that. Makes it easier for students to find the right tab and whatnot. Once you've got that, you want to put a title on your page. So I'm going to click here, select all that text, and I'll just use test site, but you can put whatever you want there for a title. Notice this can be different from the name of your page up there. This could say Mr. Bennett's website, and the name of it up here could be just Mr. Bennett, however you want to arrange that. Notice when I hover over the header here, I get some options. One, I can delete it. There's a trash can right there. But I can change the image, or I can choose a new header type. So if I go to header type, I get some options. The default is banner, and that's this size right here. But if I go click on cover, it gets really big. If you have a large picture to put there and you want the site name over the top of it, that's the way to go. Large banner is smaller, banner is even smaller, and if you go title only, it gets rid of the picture background altogether, and you just have the name up there at the top. So I'm going to leave it at banner for now, but you can choose between those. Your other option here is to change the image. Now, if I click change image, I can select an image, in which case they give me a gallery and there's a whole bunch of choices there. The nice thing about using the gallery is these pictures are already formatted nicely to fit in the banner there. But you can search. You can go to Google search and search. My experience is if you search here, you'll get all kinds of different formatted pictures, and then you'll have to kind of, it'll give you a chance to choose which portion of the picture you want to use in your banner. It works reasonably well. In my experience, it's been a little rough. You can, of course, upload your own picture or pull it from your Google Drive. I find, though, that you can also search on Google. So I'm gonna show you a quick way to search on Google. If I go to Google and let's say I'm looking for pictures of physics, if I search there and I go to the Images tab, I get all these pictures associated with physics. And notice that they're all different shapes. Some of them are nice and wide that might make a good header, and others are more square and whatnot. You used to be able to, and it's a shame that Google got rid of this tool, but you used to be able to click here, go to size, and you had an option to specify a specific size. The size of the header image you want is 1600 by 400. I can't specify it here, but if I search just right, I can. So I'm going to leave that physics up there, and then I'm going to say image size, no space, colon, still no spaces, 1600 x 400, all run together there. And that little tag will tell it to search for images that are just that size. So now I get all of these headers that will fit very nicely into the banner on my website. And so you could choose one. Lots of people make these banners. A lot of them are free on the internet. You can probably find something you like that's not just one of the stock ones. However, there's some pretty good choices in the stock ones as well, and there's quite a few to choose from there. I'm sure you can find something there as well. So take your pick either way, and it is something you can change later. So you can just start with a standard one, and you could work on another one later. So that's the header part up top. Let me just check real quick and see where we're at with questions and whatnot. Doesn't look like we've got any so far. Don't be shy. If you've got a question or a comment or something like that, toss it into the comments and we'll try and pick that up as we go along. Let's see. Navigation. All right, so once we've got the page made, this is our first page, we want to set up how our navigation is going to work. And you have just two options, so there's not a lot to choose from. If I go up here to the gear icon and click that, I got four options in this set of settings. I'm only going to talk about navigation at the moment, but in navigation, I can choose top navigation or I can choose side navigation. So if it's on top, and that's the default, you get a row of buttons across the very top that link to other pages on your website. And Google Sites will automatically, as you add pages, and you'll see in just a few minutes here, I'll add a page. As you add pages, it will add to your navigation menu. You don't have to build the navigation menu or anything else with it. It'll do it automatically for you. The default is to have that at the top. That works, in my experience, that works reasonably well if you have a few number of pages. As you start to build a bigger and bigger site, you get too many links up there in the navigation up at the top, and it becomes kind of a mess. Then you want to have sidebar navigation. So if I do top navigation, again, which is the default, you'll see navigation show up here at the top. If you choose side navigation, it'll show up on the left-hand side of your website. You can, again, change this at any time. You're not stuck with the decision, so you could start out with it being up at top, and then as you build your site and it gets bigger, you could decide to switch over to that side navigation a little bit later. So I'm going to leave it at the top for now, and I'll point out when we make another page where that navigation shows up on the top of the page. All right, so over here on the right-hand side, this panel has our menus for building a website. And I'm not going to go through everything that's there, but I'll give you enough to get started. The first thing is a text box. You can click there and insert a text box. You can type text in a text box, as you would expect. You can copy and paste text into there. You've got some basic editing tools. You can choose a size for some of the text. You can make it bold, italics. You can center it if you want. You can do bulleted and numbered lists. You can even make some of your text into a hyperlink to link to another website or a resource, a document, whatever you want. So the text box is the way to go if you want to put text on your website. A little paragraph, an introduction says, this is, Mr. Bennett, welcome to my website, those kinds of things. The next thing will allow you to, images button here will allow you to insert images. And just like before, you can select from the web, you can search for kittens and it'll find you pictures of kittens and you can insert those into your website, or you can upload pictures that you may have already on your computer. Either one's pretty straightforward. Once you insert them, you can size them just like you can in a document. You can drag the corner and size them bigger or smaller and whatnot. The next button down here says Embed to your website. If you decide to link from another website into your website and they change their website, your link can be broken. If they change it to a different page, now you have a different page showing up in your website. Be careful. I'll let you play with that. It's pretty straightforward. You just copy and paste the link for the website that you want into your website using that embed button. Let me show you real quick. I'll do this link. Copy that link. If I paste it here, it thinks about it for a minute and it says, do you want to put the whole page in there? And then I can insert, and it's not showing it at the moment, but it would pull the whole web page in there. Just like an image, you can grab the corners and size it, all that good stuff. The fourth button over here is your Google Drive button. And I use this button a lot. Lots of, almost everything, most everything in my website is in my Google Drive. I try really hard to make sure that the stuff that I'm putting on my website, I have control over so it doesn't disappear or move or whatever on me. But if you click on Google Drive, it gives you the option to search through your Google Drive and choose the things that you, and I now have it on my website. I can reposition it. I can change the size of it. I can move it up here next to this box. I could, your choice. The rest of the things in this right-hand menu, I will leave for another show some other time. You're welcome to play with them. They're not terribly difficult, but you may want an image carousel, for example, so it shows pictures of projects you've done in your class or something like that. You may want to embed a YouTube video, which may be helpful. I have some calendars embedded in my web page. That could be a whole show by itself. Anyway, you get the idea. Basically, you're going to live with these four buttons up here to build a basic website. All right, let's pop over again real quick, check on questions and comments. Let's see. Question says, if you start with a standard layout, can you switch to more custom as you are developing it? Yeah, that's no problem. If you choose one of the templates, page layouts, you may have to move things around a little bit in order to get what you had into that layout. But it wouldn't be too much work, and it wouldn't be a huge mess. In other words, it would be pretty easy to make things fit into that layout. So yeah, there's no problem changing layouts later. I'll also show you some templates as far as color schemes and stuff, and you can switch those at any time as well. I'll get to those in just a few minutes. All right, so let's catch up with where we are at. That images, insert, okay. All right, on to pages. So we got one page. This page is your home page. If I click over here on the right-hand side and it says pages, this panel shows all the web pages I have in my website. And right now that's just one. We made a home page and it calls it home. If I want to add another page, I come down here to the plus button at the bottom and it will give me a new page. I'm going to put, I'll just call it page 2. You'll probably want to make a more meaningful name for it. Again, keep these short. And when I click done, it will not only take me to the new page to work on, but notice in the right-hand panel, I now have home and then page 2 underneath it. So this page you would edit much the same way. Type in a title, all that kind of stuff. You could go back to the insert menu and put in text boxes, images, all that kind of stuff. Once you've got the page in there, this menu button over here, the 3 dots, gives you some options. One of the things you can do is you can duplicate the page. So once you get a page made, you may want to keep the same look and kind of the same stuff in the same spots. So you could just copy that page and edit it a little bit for a 3rd page, and then copy that page and edit a little bit for a 4th page, and so on. I do that a lot. I can also hide this page from navigation. So if you come back up here to the top, this top bar now says home and it says page 2. As I add more pages, it will show up there. You may not want all of your pages to show up in the navigation. So if that's the case, then you just go to that little menu button down to hide from navigation, and it will take it away from the navigation at the top. Okay. I can also, let me add another page. I can also make this a sub page. So this menu over here at the right is drag and drop. So I can move them around to keep them in an order I want. If I notice how as I move up, I can it's either a box around page 2 or a line. If it's a box and I put it down, I let go, it'll put it under that page. Notice up at the menu here, I now have a drop down list for the pages that sit underneath page 2, just like in an outline, right? If I want to change the order of these pages, I can just drag and drop it and put it ahead of page 2. And notice the order here changes up at the top. So the way these pages are arranged in this menu on the right dictates how they show up in the menu. And I think you can see if I keep adding pages, this is going to get pretty long across the top, and it gets to be too cumbersome to have across the top. At that point, I would want to switch the menus to be down the left side instead of up at the top. That's pretty much it for the pages. Again, as you keep adding, you'll get more and more there, and you can arrange them how you want. The last tab here on the right-hand menu is themes. This will change the color and the look of your website. This is again something you can do at any time. You could start out with the standard simple layout. You can change the colors as you wish. There's 6 different standard themes, and you can customize them in terms of color and font style for each one. So right now I'm on simple, and if I like the simple layout but I want a purple color scheme, I can click purple and it will change my entire site to that. And maybe font style, I want to try, let's heavy, and I can make it within reason. I can adjust it a little bit to make it look the way I want it to look. Let's say I want to check out Aristotle, and maybe I like this blues theme, and maybe the font style is classic, looks a little better. You know, you can take your pick through those. You can change these at any time. It doesn't mess with your site layout. You won't end up with, you know, text that's too big or too small. It'll size everything appropriately and whatnot. The bummer is Google does not let you upload themes. In other words, in a lot of other cases, like with Google Slides and Google Docs, you can go get a theme from another website. There's lots of websites out there where people have made fancy looking themes that you can import into your project and use in your Google Slides, for example. That doesn't happen with sites. And part of that reason is they need to be able to keep control of everything so that they can automatically format stuff for you. But on the flip side, you're kind of limited. But you can go to other websites that show you different themes that you can copy. So you can get some good ideas of how to make your page look, how to adjust things and change things so that it'll look nice by searching Google Sites themes, and you'll find a whole bunch of websites that show a bunch of different themes, different ideas for arranging your website. To begin with, you're probably just going to stick with the simple and get your page built before you worry about making it look pretty and stuff like that. All right, let's check again and make sure we're okay on questions and whatnot. Let's see. Question from Ariel says, says, how do you insert a page inside a page, not like drop it down, but with a hyperlink inside the menu? So I'm not entirely clear on your question, but let me see if this answers your question. So let's suppose I want to put another page, a document from my drive, for example, into my web page here. If I use the embed button here, I can do that. So the first thing I need to do is go to my drive and let me pick a document. Let me see if I can find this document. So I will open this document. I'm going to copy the web address that's up here. And that web address I will embed in my site. So I go back to the Google Sites page. I click embed. I paste the web address in there. And please do use copy and paste. These web addresses, if you're off by just one character, it doesn't work. So make sure that that you have it exactly using copy and paste. And then once I've put it in there, it shows me a little thumbnail, and I click insert. And there's the document in the page, and I can make it a little bit longer if I need to show more of it, whatnot. I hope that's what you were referring to there, really. I'm not quite sure I got all of your question or not there, but hopefully that's it. I forgot, I go back and talk about images for a moment since we're here. It is possible to what they call hot link an image, and I want to give you a huge caution here about doing that. So if I go insert an image, and I'm going to select, and I could do it by URL. So this is the web address of an image. So paste the image of a URL, the URL of an image. So let's suppose I go to Google and I find I like this picture, and I copy the link address. Okay. This image lives on somebody else's website someplace out there in the world, right? And so if I go back to my website and I paste that in here, let me actually go to the page. Copy image address. Paste in that address. Okay, so there's the image, and I insert the image. So this is called hot linking. What I have done is I've made a link on my web page that goes to that other web page, gets the image, and puts it into my web page. That's what hot linking is. One, it's considered kind of rude because you're using their bandwidth to put images in your website. So every time somebody loads my website, it's going to go and pull that image from their website and put it in my web page. It works. It shows up in the web page, but if they change that image or get rid of that image, then it won't show up in my website and I'll have a broken link. Worse is some people get annoyed by this and they will replace that image with something that's inappropriate, and you now have an inappropriate image on your website. So be really careful about that. Don't hot link images. That can get you in trouble. It now looks like you put that image on your website. So be real careful about doing that. All right. Let's see. All right. Catch back up with where I was at. All right. They talked about themes. All right. Now we're getting to the point where we've built enough website where we need to take a look at what this looks like and see if we can get it onto the web. So I'm going to go back to my Pages tab here. I'm going to select my Homepage tab. Shows me my homepage that I built. And first thing I want to do is I want to see what is this going to look like when people come to my website. So this button right here says preview. If I click on that, it shows me what it would look like if I was a visitor to my website. So instead of showing all the editor stuff, it's just going to show me the website. This floating toolbar down here gives me the ability to see it as if I was on different devices. So right now it's showing it to me what it looks like if I'm on my laptop or a desktop monitor. This button here will show me what it looks like on a tablet, like an iPad. And this button shows me what it will look like on somebody's phone. So I can get an idea, and it's not just a screenshot, it's interactive, right? You can use the menus and stuff like that. I can go to another page and see what the page looks like. So you can check out what it's going to look like on these different devices. Good idea to check that out before you publish your site. Again, if I was teaching elementary and my students are all on iPads, I want to make sure that my website's going to work well on an iPad. Once you're done with that, you can exit out of this preview mode with the X down here. And if you like everything, now we're to the point where we want to publish. So this big blue button up here in the right-hand corner says publish. The first time you click it, it's going to ask you to name, to figure out a web address for your site. So just underneath the box here, it's kind of small, but just underneath the box is the full web address of your site as it is right now. I would probably change this, and my recommendation is make it something that's specific to you, like your name. On my website, I did Mr. If I can type Mr. Bennett, right? Or I could just put Bennett. And then notice again, the whole web address is https://sites.google.com/washougalsd.org/Mr. Bennett. So that would be the web address that they would have to go to get to my site. If I leave it as the name of my website, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. If it's something else that's not very meaningful, then people have a hard time remembering it or recognizing it when they see it. So change that to something short and memorable. Once you've got that, click this publish button, and your website is live and on the web, right? All ready to go. I missed a button, he's telling me. What button are you talking about?
Only washougalsd.org else can see it.
Oh, when I clicked publish? Mm-hmm. Oh, let me go back to my publish settings. Where did you see that?
It was where it said editors, but it was in that box.
Oh. Let me see. Let me unpublish it. We'll try this again. So publish. Kudos to my editor here. So once you pick a name here for the end part of your web address, who can view my site, anyone at WashougalSD. At the moment, that's the default. That means the outside world would not be able to see it. So if I click on Manage, this is just like the sharing settings in Google Drive. I want the published site. Anyone can find the published version. So anybody on the web can find it. You could do it so just people within WashougalSD can do it if you want only your students, but keep in mind your parents won't be able to see it, and that might be a problem. So more than likely you're going to want anyone can find and view this published version. Good catch. Thank you, Marcus. Once you change that, done. Again, the web address name and then publish. So now it's live on the web and anybody could go to that address and see the site. Let me show you real quick what my site looks like. I'll point out a couple of things. That's not it. Click the wrong button. Here we go. So here's my website. These articles here are embedded. These are from other websites. These are the ones I was talking about. They're only on my website for a few days or maybe a week or two at most. So I don't worry too much about embedding from other websites there. So these are articles that I share with my students. If I go to this page, which is, notice this left side navigation that I've got. If I go to the page for my classes, You can see I've got information for all my chapters. There's pages for each of those. I've got links to current chapter stuff. I've got a calendar down here that I've embedded for my class. There's not a lot on it right now because we've been out of school for a while. That'll hopefully start getting filled in as we go along here. I've got a little pull down here in the navigation. There's some other pages there. I've kept it kind of clean and neat. I'm not one for being super flashy. I tend to stick to the neat and clean style. But if it's more your style to make things more flashy and more colorful, yeah, you go be you, right? Do you? All right, so we're getting towards the end here. I just got a couple more things. If you have questions, make sure you get them up in the chat. Ellen says, so instead of hot linking images, can we save an image from a website and then insert it into our Google site? Is that a safe option? It is safe. You want to make sure that you're using images that have the appropriate rights to them so that they're free for use. If you steal somebody else's work and post it on your website, they can, technically that's not okay. It's definitely safer because they can't change the image that shows up on your website. So I would recommend that most of all. But there are lots of websites out there that have royalty-free, copyright-free images that you can pull from and choose from. Certainly, any pictures that you take or that are your own, you can put on your site that way. Some websites aren't necessarily copyright-free. But if you put the proper citation with them, then you can put that on your website as well. So good question. All right. Publish, did that. All right. So once you've published your site, you can continue to work and edit on your site. If I can find where I was. Here we go. You can continue to edit and work on your site, but nothing you change shows up live on the web until you click the publish button again. So I could go in here and let's say page 3, I decide, oh, this document, I don't want that there anymore. So I'm going to delete that. I like that image. I need to add some text. So I'll go over here to the insert menu, text box, add my text, blah, blah, blah. And then I now want to make that viewable on the web. If I go to the website right now, it all still looks like the page before with the document inserted and this text won't be there. Once I click publish, it gives me a chance to compare. So on the right is what the page looks like now, right? You can see the document's still there, the picture's there, there's no text box. This is what it'll look like if I continue to publish. If I click publish, now the new version is live on the web. So what's handy for this is that you can be working on some pages. Maybe you have a whole new unit and it takes you a couple of weeks of working on it from time to time to build out those pages for your whole new unit. And you can go back and then keep working on it and editing it, and none of that will show up until you click that publish button. On the flip side, if you forget to click the publish button, it doesn't show up on the web. So you may put a bunch of stuff on your web page and think that your students can get to it, but if you haven't clicked the publish button, then it's not going to show up there. So you can use that publish button as a way to be able to work on your website and then have stuff show up later when you're ready for it to be revealed. That's also a good way to roll out like formatting changes, or if you want to change the look of your website, change the colors and stuff like that. You can be working on it for a few days or a few weeks to get everything all tweaked the way you like it, and then you hit that publish button and it all goes live at one shot. So I like that use of the publish button there that way. Let's see, Amy says, do you have a PDF of directions for building a Google site that you could send out so we could refer to it later as we work on our sites? That's a really good idea. I don't currently have one. That's something I could put together. I'll put it on my to-do list, but it's probably going to be a little while before I can get to that. But that would be a great thing to have. Frankly, I think it'd probably be a good idea with all of these live streams and the videos I've been making to make a PDF that goes along with it. of instructions. So good suggestion. Probably going to be a little bit down my to-do list before I can get to it though. Aurelie replied again, says, yes, just what you did, but I want to write the name of each unit. But when students click on the unit, they can have access to all the material for that unit, just how you have it on your website. Okay, so I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I can make a link. So Aurelie, this is you. So let's suppose I want, I've got a whole bunch of text there. If I want this to be a link to a document, so I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to click on the chain link that's up here. And this allows me to turn that text that I selected into a hyperlink that when they click that hyperlink, it will then take them to whatever I've linked to. So if I want that link to go to a document in my drive, all I have to do is go to my drive, get the web address of that document, copy that, always use copy and paste on these web addresses. Then I go back to my site and where it says link here, I'll paste the web address in there and I click apply. So now that text, see how it's blue with an underline under it now? That's now a hyperlink and that will take me straight to that document. So I'll show you. If I go to preview my site, I'll preview it like this. So if I preview my site, this is what it looks like when people go to my site. Notice this text is a link. It turns to a little pointer hand when I point at it. And if I click on that, it opens that document in another tab. Okay, so it could be a document, it could be an image, it could be a set of Google Slides. Literally anything you can put in your Google Drive, you can link on your Google Sites. I have on some of my pages, I have videos that are in my Google Drive embedded in my web page. So just like that, easy peasy. Good question. Let's see. Ellen says, so do we have to click publish every time we make changes? If you want them to show up live on the web, yes. Like I said, I like to use it as a way to make a bunch of changes and work on it for a while and then publish. But if I'm going to make a quick change and I want, like I forgot to make something a hyperlink for my students and they need it right now, you've got to click that publish button, otherwise they won't see it on the web. So good question. All right, I think we are just about done here. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. If you click the bell icon, you'll get notifications when we do these live streams and when I post new videos. I do have a couple of new videos coming shortly. One on how to do email signatures, how to make a signature, a nice signature for your email. And another one on how to do filters in Gmail so that you can filter out some of that, 20,000 emails a day that you might be getting. Some of us, I know I'm getting a lot more email than I used to, and managing that's a bit of work. So filters will help out with that. So look for those videos coming up in the future. So until next time, thanks everybody for joining us and have a good day.